Hello, and welcome to another edition of Fox Sociology, where I will be doing my lecture on authority in the state. So let's get to it. This is going to be a fairly short lecture, actually. Um, okay, so um, there's a discussion in the textbook about the types of authority. Max Weber's types of authority. You should know that. Okay, so um, let's talk about some theories of power in the United States, in American politics. Okay, one is majoritarian electoral democracy. Okay, um, this is the idea that the U.S. government policies is the result of the collective will of the average citizen who is empowered by democratic elections. It's the government of the people, by the people, for the people. Okay. So in order for someone to be elected, they have to appeal to the median voter and converge at the midpoint of citizens' policy preferences in order to get elected. So what a person has to do when they're running for office is basically generalize in terms of the policy positions of the average voter there in order to get elected. Okay, so second theory, I'm sure you're familiar with this majoritarian electoral democracy one. Okay, second is economic elite domination. Okay, this is the idea that U.S. policymaking is dominated by individuals of higher socioeconomic levels, including those who own businesses. Um, so one of them is one idea of economic elite domination is the theory proposed by C. Wright Mills on the power elite. Okay, so he says that the U.S. politics is dominated by individuals of the top corporate leaders, the top political leaders, and by that he means the executive branch of government and the military leaders. Okay, at the middle level, you got Congress and other legislatures, like state legislators and stuff. Interest groups leaders, we'll get to interest groups in a bit, and local opinion leaders. And then at the bottom, with the least power, is the masses. Okay, I guess like probably 70% of us or something. They are mostly unorganized, exploited, and mostly uninterested. Okay, Mills says that the decisions of consequence are made at the very top by the corporate leaders, the political leaders, and the military leaders. The corporate leaders he also calls first among equals. So the individuals at the top of the corporate ladder are the ones with the most power in American politics. Okay. Third is, I'll see how this came out. Hey, it did. Okay. Majoritarian pluralism interprets power in society as derived from the representation of different groups in society. So there's different interest groups here, and I drew this out in my, basically on the back of my notes. Okay, so you got people organizing into interest groups, like the National Rifle Association and the Parent Teacher Association, the NAACP, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and the AFL-CIO. That's a big union. Okay, they lobby the legislature, and then the legislature makes policy. And so these interest groups are in competition with one another. And sometimes one wins, sometimes the other wins. Let's say there's a school shooting. The PTA is going to say gun control, gun control, gun control, and the NRA is going to say Second Amendment, Second Amendment, Second Amendment. And they're going to keep fighting it out. And then the legislature fights it out, votes, and then makes policy. Okay. That is majoritarian pluralism. Okay. Last is bias pluralism. The public policies that result from interest group conflict tend to tilt towards corporations and business and professional organizations. So you have all of these interest groups, but then you've got Exxon, okay, also lobbying. So according to bias pluralism, their policies are going to tilt more in the favor of corporations that lobby. Okay, so which one? Well, there's some research on this. Martin Gilens and Benjamin I. Page wrote an article called Testing Theories of American Politics, Elites, Interest Groups, and Average Citizens. They did a study of 1,779 policy cases and the public opinion polls surrounding them and positions of interest groups. So, that's not written quite as well as I'd like. Okay, there's 1,779 policy cases and the public opinion polls surrounding them and the positions of interest groups surrounding them. Okay. The first thing they found is that the preferences of average citizens are often in line with the economic elites. Okay, so for example, let's say going to war against Afghanistan. Everybody was for that. Average citizens, economic elites, they were in line. However, when there's a conflict, economic elites are favored, okay, when there's a conflict between the two. Organized interest groups do not correlate with average citizen preferences. This makes sense. The reason why interest groups get together is to kind of like push an agenda and influence public opinion. So it makes sense that they would not align or not correlate with the average citizens. Okay? Ordinary citizens have almost no power on their own to affect policy. The authors say, quote, not only do ordinary citizens not have uniquely substantial power over policy decisions, they have little or no independent influence on policy at all. Okay? Economic elites, though, do very well. Business-oriented groups do better than mass-oriented groups because there are twice as many of them. So with the slide I showed you last time, let's say that the issue is climate change or the climate emergency or something. There are like at least twice as many business-oriented groups who are lobbying the legislature, in a certain direction regarding the climate crisis than there are mass-oriented volunteer organizations. So there's a lot of fossil fuel companies, for example, that lobby the legislature fighting against policies that would that the mass-oriented groups want. There's twice as many of them. Okay, and that's what the Gilens and Page say is the reason why. Taken together, average citizens on their own have almost zero effect on policy. When organized into groups, average citizens do better and can affect policy. Business-oriented groups do better because there are more of them working on issues, and the individual economic elites do best in affecting policy. Okay? So, what then does this mean for democracy? Well, the majority does not rule. The authors say, quote, when a majority of citizens disagrees with economic elites and or with organized interests, they generally lose. Okay? And then finally, the authors say, we believe that if policymaking is dominated by powerful business organizations and a small number of affluent individuals, then America's claims at being a democratic society are seriously threatened. So there will be room in the rest of the module for you to apply this stuff. So, as I said, it's going to be short. Okay? Good luck. Bye.